the cloud. Good morning. This is Nancy Lohr, and I am with Reselling into Retirement. That's the name of my channel. And what we're doing is we're talking to people who are 55 and over, who are resellers, and just kind of getting an idea of what they do for reselling and their niches and their experiences and their trials and tribulations, successes, and whatever questions that end up coming up. So today I have Deanna as my guest. Deanna, thank you very much for being my guest. And Deanna and I are part of the Reseller Nirvana group, and we are booksellers. I sell clothing, but I also sell books too, as you know, if you've seen some of my other things on here. So I have Deanna on here today, and we're going to ask her a few questions just about reselling. And Deanna, I know that you sell books and other media, but do you also, are you retired yet, or do you have a full-time job? Are you, how are you making it all work?
Sure. No, that's a good question. And thanks for having me today, Nancy. This is really fun. And I am not retired. I am thinking about retirement for sure. But I have been doing the reselling as a full-time job for, well, several years. I started doing it part-time, but it kind of morphed into full-time, goes back and forth between full-time and part-time. And I also have some other businesses and other things that I'm doing. And I am over 55, I'm 57, and I'm glad I made it long enough so I get the senior discount in a lot of places, although they changed.
I know how about that, yeah.
Yeah, my local Goodwill changed it lately, but anyway, I'm glad I made it to that. And so I am thinking about retirement. I would like to downsize my business and downsize my life and all that, and just be ready for the next thing that I might start doing. Mm-hmm. So I can easily change, or I don't necessarily want to move, but if that came up, then that could be something I would do. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. Still full time, because my kids are out of the house and I don't have any grandkids. I have a grand dog, and I can still work full time and do that. So I still want to be active with different things.
Yeah, I hear you. There's so many people, I know we had talked before, excuse me. There's so many people that I know from my experiences at jobs that have worked at the same job for 40 years and really haven't had any outside interests, and just worked, everything was about their work. And when they end up retiring, they have nothing to do. There's no meaning in their life. And I know that the main thing is to stay busy, just to stay active. And sometimes it's a little difficult when you get to be older, because sometimes there's health issues or there's other issues that keep you from doing that. So, I mean, mind and body, I mean, it's what it's all about. Right. And something that's interesting too, something that you're passionate about, and something that you can monetize. So, you know, it's so interesting because there's so many different things. I mean, you would never think in a million years some of the things that people are selling that they're making money with. And you know, it's not all about making money. I think it's all about, I think there's a lot of flexibility too. It's important to be flexible, because family, it seems like, I don't know, you know, once you think that once your kids are grown and moved out and moved on with their lives, that things will be a little bit more open. But I find that it's more hectic, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I just can't handle as much anymore.
Well, I think the kids still do need you as much as they did. But I mean, I started reselling as I was a stay-at-home mom. And so I started reselling because of that flexibility. Mm-hmm. And because I really have always loved books, and I like selling that just because, I mean, I do think that, like, I definitely want to make money. I mean, that's kind of the benchmark we have for our success, but it also is a way of recycling for us. And it's getting some of these obscure books that I might find in my smallish town, and, you know, sending them all over the world and getting them into the hands of people that really need them. And some of them are rare, some of them are not so rare, but still, if people still want to buy books, And so that's what I have found that even though I started before the Kindles came into being more popular, and even though they are, and a lot of things are online, that people still do want to have a book to actually either read, to hold, or to put on their shelf because it looks nice, or as a reference, or for whatever reason.
Yeah, I agree. There's some beautiful books out there. I mean, there's some works of art in books that you come across, and just some of the most interesting things people don't realize, because like you said, a lot of people do use the Kindle, and you had started your interest in books started before Kindle came about. But I've never been a fan of Kindle, just because I love having that book in my hand. I sell books too, and I just I just love the some of the treasures that are out there, the things that you can find. You just can't believe how not only valuable they are, but just how interesting they are, just from the cover to, what's in the pages, to um, just how it's made. I mean, there were some real works of art. But so tell me, do you think that books are something that you will continue with in your reselling world, or are there other interests that you have?
As far as reselling, yeah, I would definitely continue with books, I would say. I like to sell CDs and DVDs, and also sewing patterns. They're lightweight, and I used to be a sewer too, so I kind of, I like to look at them. So if I'm at a yard sale, I'm going to look and see what they have anyway.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how that goes. I'm not really interested in selling clothing so much, just because it's, but I have been an everything seller in the past, along with books, but I have been an everything seller, and it's just so much easier to have one thing to look for and to not worry about it. I think in the future, I would maybe focus on, if I'm not going to do this full time, it's more like a hobby, that's one thing I like about it. It could just turn into my hobby. I could go down from this full-time reselling to just doing it as a casual thing, as I'm traveling or something. And then, because I do enjoy going to yard sales and going to thrift stores and looking for used things. And so I do know a little bit about the high points of some other subjects, like maybe I can find a few high point clothing things, or maybe some nicer shoes or something. So at least I could always just pick up a few things that would sell for a higher amount, maybe when I see them, as a kind of a hobby. But one thing I'm changing a little bit, it's just easier to sell smaller books and lighter books, and not so much the sets. I did sell a set of encyclopedias even a few months ago, and I think I just would probably pass. Like, I don't know how
Unless you're
much.
selling it as a boat anchor, I mean, that
Right, that's right. And
that might be
it used
worth
to
it.
be, I'd be at a book sale, and I feel like, and I do bring a cart when I go, or maybe at a yard sale that I know I'm going to get a lot of things, I might bring a tote bag. But sometimes it seems like I'm just finding the heaviest thing I can find and putting that in first, and then carrying it around, and that's tiring after a while. So I do bring it to the front, set it down, but just finding those smaller sets, or just individual books that are a little bit more lightweight, I think, is kind of the way to move forward. And I have sold some of the more, coffee table type things, but getting away from just selling a lot of sets and all. I used to sell more sets where I would collect the sets. So I might try to complete it. Like, it's like Jana Ivanovich has a set of books that have the numbers in the title. And so I might try to get all of them up to what she's written. And that's okay, but it does take then you're storing a lot of things. You're buying a lot of maybe extra things, because I can't remember what I already have, or the condition isn't all the same for all the books. So now I think it's a lot more it'd be easier to just let the other people collect it for me. And if I find the set at a yard sale or at a book sale, get all the set at once and sell that, as opposed to having a lot of inventory that doesn't sell for a long time.
Right. Yep. That makes sense. And that's what we mean when we talk about business model, because for some people, sets like that are what they look for. They might have an avenue to be able to sell those.
Mhm.
They have people looking for them. Deanna, which platforms do you sell on, or have you sold on in the past?
I started selling on Amazon, because that was when I somebody told me, I think Amazon is better for books. And so that's when I found that was a thing, and it was pretty easy. You don't have to take pictures. And it's easy to scan things to know what the value is and all that. So it is easy that way. And then I started also doing eBay, I think, for extra things that weren't books, or there's some books that aren't very good for Amazon, the ones that are more collectible. So I would start doing that on eBay. And now so I really started with the main thing being Amazon and eBay being a minor thing. And it's kind of switched. Amazon can be a big part of it still, but eBay, there's less competition for books in some ways, or the more obscure books or the collectible type things. And there's less competition at a sale, because if people can't scan it with the barcode scanner, which is what I use for the Amazon things, then it's easier for me to get that, even if there's other dealers there, that I can find those books and put them on eBay. And people are still looking for those things. I think even now with like the Zoom backdrops, people might want them to look nice in the background, or people are still in the decor magazines. They still do decorate with books, although I can't stand it when they turn them so the spines aren't showing. I just think people who actually read would never do that, because you can't find the book you need, but whatever, if it looks nice, that's okay.
Yeah, and I guess that's their main focus, is just the design portion of it. And because some books are more decorative on the cover than they are on the spine. And I've learned a lot about books since I've been selling them that I never knew about. I mean, just about things like deckled edges, the kind of a rough edge. I used to be in graphic arts and printing for a long time. So my interest in how a book comes together is, still, I still look at that. My brain just automatically just goes to that. And I like the, just like a stamp, like gold foil stamping, if a book cover has gold foil stamp or the spine or something. And so, it's just interesting how much work used to go into them. And they do in a different way today, but back then, I mean, I think I think that's part of finding something that you like to do and monetizing it, is finding these little gems, and finding out to see if they're worth anything. Or what I do is I keep them for a while. I'm like, I don't know if I can let this go. I don't know. I'll put this book on my shelf and I'll just look at it for a while. And then a couple months later, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to sell it.
I have
you done
definitely
that?
added to my collection, and my kids, there's, even if a book doesn't look that important, just check, because somebody might have signed it. So don't
Yeah,
just think
that's
it's
true.
not.
What is the most valuable book that you have come across for reselling?
The most in the last few months, I have had the most valuable sale, and it was $750. And it wasn't anything particularly collectible. It was more like a mechanical engineering book. And that it was based on the topic. I don't even remember what the topic is, but sometimes those kind of books are also valuable, just because whoever wrote it could be the expert on that subject, and they don't have their own website, or they don't have any other way. There's no other way to get that information. And so I think that's what made that more valuable. Then after that, there was one that had some collectible artwork in it. It was maybe in the $600 range. And others have been more of the textbook type things. And just like engineering books tend to hold their value, even if they're 30 or 40 years old. And this book, I'm not sure how old it was. I think it was not current, but it could have been 10 or more years old. And so some of the scientific books where the knowledge or research doesn't change a lot, or it's even the older knowledge is still good, those tend to hold their value.
Yeah, textbooks are worth generally worth a lot of money. Some aren't, but some, like you said, I mean, some are the ones,
plenty are not,
that don't change a lot, like mathematics, things like that. But it's fun. What you do find is valuable. I came across a book. I was at the last yard sale of the day on Saturday, and there were a couple books sitting in somebody's garage that I just happened to scan. I have a scanner that that will scan a barcode and tell me generally what something is worth. And it was worth to me $120. And it blew my mind. I think it was on a fish species or something like that. And when I asked how much it was, they said, "Oh, we're just trying to get rid of everything right now. So you could take those books for free, whatever you want." And
Yeah.
that's exciting. Doesn't always happen, but I think that's kind of why I like books, because there is that little, excitement every once in a while, and it
Right. You
does.
get the excitement when you scan it, and then the excitement when you sell it too.
When you sell it, that's right. So books, I think books can still be lucrative. But have you had much success with CDs or DVDs?
They regularly sell.
Mhm.
I don't know enough to just go pick out the high points of it. I mean, I know some, but
Yeah.
I haven't had, I'm trying to think what would have been the most expensive. I could have sold some that are in the over $50 range, but I don't know that I've sold any that are super, super duper,
Right.
you know, bolos or anything. But so they do sell consistently. And I used to clean them with like a cheap cleaning machine. And now I just don't want to deal with that either. So I kind of tend to either like give up on the scratched ones, or I just kind of disclose the
Sure.
condition and go with that. Or I just try not to pick those up, I guess. But
Right.
there's
Right.
people still are interested in CDs, and they can be the same thing. Somebody just wants to get rid of them.
Mhm.
And so they're plentiful, and my eyes kind of glaze over on the CDs. I'd much rather go through scads and scads of books and scan them, or eyeball them or whatever, or look them up in some way than the CDs. And DVDs can come and go. I think it kind of depends on the whole streaming and all. They're still definitely the rare ones, but I'm not sure what's going on with that. And it's not as interesting to me, I guess, either.
Yeah, I agree. Do you do video games at all?
I have, especially like, being in this group, I've learned more than ever before. I did sell one for well over $100, and that I never would have picked it up. It looked more like a CD than a game kind of box. And that was why I think it was overlooked by others, just because it was mixed in with CDs. But I did not realize that was such a big deal. I have not played them myself that much, so it's not super interesting that way, but I'm
Right.
interested in making money off of things. And if it's going to be there, I'm going to check it out.
Isn't it interesting how, as time goes on, have you found that I mean, it's just like anything, I guess, the more you do something, the better you get at it, right? But it's just interesting how you can go into a sale and you can just, in 5 minutes, I mean, you can have the place like scouted out, and what's worth spending time on, and what to walk away from. And the only way to really learn that is just to, like I always say, the only way to go to the end is to go through. And you have to sometimes buy the bad stuff and experience, the duds, in order to realize, what's good. And, it's education and it's experience, so, and I think that, that's kind of the thrill of reselling, for me. It's just, finding those gems you just in the rough, and finding some, especially, books, like I said, that have all the workmanship. But like you said, it's not necessarily old books, that are always
Right.
valuable. I found a book. This was a book of a gentleman who designed golf courses.
Mhm.
I found it. I found it at a Goodwill for $5, and it was, actually, it had a really high ranking. Didn't move fast at all. So I thought, oh, I'll put it on eBay and see what happens. Actually, I put it on auction, and I don't even know why I did that, and ended up selling for $300. So, I would have walked past that book,
Yeah.
especially with the high ranking, that it didn't move fast. So,
Right.
that's a whole other area.
And it can be a problem, because even though they're relatively small, I guess, it's just that you make that decision. Is it worth putting on the shelf? I mean, that's one thing, that books go easily on a shelf, but you have to keep buying bookcases after a while. So
Yeah, that's true.
there's always that. With yeah, sometimes it's hard to know, is it long tail and worth holding on to, or is this just going to be a dud that nobody ever wants? And that just kind of comes from that intuition maybe. And yeah, not every old book is worth something, which is hard because when people want to, when I've gone to go, I have tried to buy collections, and a lot of people think because it's old that it is going to be worth something.
Mhm.
And it's not always the case. And
No,
though
it's
they
not.
do take a lot more work too. So if I'm going to buy it from somebody, it's more work for me. And I do want a cheaper price myself too, if I'm buying that outright. So that can be problematic that way. And there's I mean, think of how many libraries there are in books. I mean, there's just so many is the
Yeah,
thing.
it's never ending.
And some of them just look all the same. And they could be next to a bunch of firewood too, stuff that you should
True.
not worth saving or whatever. And so it's just hard to know. And they can get mildewed and damaged and all. So there's that. And so that's always a hazard too. But I would just say anybody that has anything mildew, get rid of that out of your anywhere,
Good advice.
when I am at a sale or something, I do try to point it out to whoever's running it, so they don't keep it with their other books to, maybe damage the others. And
Yeah,
things.
and it will. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't understand that. But do you ever like, as far as finding finding your books or finding your product that you're going to sell? What do you do? You had mentioned you go to yard sales and maybe libraries. Do you do any online arbitrage, buying and selling online?
It's not like I never have, but I have not done that. And when I did try, it just seemed like it was taking a lot of time for the possible return. And so I just really haven't done it as well as it could be done. I'm sure people do it all the time. I've done it to complete sets. So when I have needed some missing things, I've gone on looking for that.
Mhm.
And, but otherwise not so much. And, so that could be something in the future, because it is a lot of work to go out and haul home a lot of books.
Well, it is. And I asked that question just because, the price of fuel has just gone, skyrocketed, and time. I mean, time is very valuable. And you mentioned that you live in a small town. I live in a small town as well. And for me to get to a city that has anything worth, I shouldn't say worth anything, because I mean, I love living in my small town, but where I'm going to be able to find, several thrift stores or yard sales or whatever, I travel 100 miles each way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm considering, and maybe there's a lot of people out there that haven't decided to go into the reselling world because they think they live somewhere where they can't find product. Well, you can do it, and you can do it online. So that's why I kind of wondered if that was something that you.
Yeah. I mean, I've looked into people that try to teach how to do it, and I've tried to do that, and I just haven't had that much success. I haven't tried in a long time either.
Right.
Ago. So
Yeah,
could
they're
be,
always come out
if
with
there's some
something.
tools that help narrow things down, or I mean, one thing I have done though is tried to look at what I have that sells and just remind myself what's a good seller, and maybe go look for that. That's what I learned from Jack in our group. That's what he does is
Right.
with sellers, then he goes back and makes a list, and he probably doesn't have to write it down. He just remembers it, but still have a list of things you're looking for that you already know that is valuable, that has sold. And so that would be a good thing to do. I know it sounds simple when I'm saying it out loud, but I just have never really done that as
Yeah.
much as I should. So
I know, me too. I know I need to do that, and I'm going to do that because winter is coming, and the garage sales and the yard sales are going to be dissipating for about 8 months, 7 months, whatever. And so I have to keep things moving, and people do it. And this is going to be the first year that
Mhm.
I'm experiencing that, because I haven't been a reseller for very long. So I just wonder if other people go through that too.
I found that estate sales still go on in the winter.
That's true.
Maybe you'll
That's
have some of those. Those have been pretty good for me.
Yeah, yep. I still have to travel though quite a bit to get to some decent estate sales. But you're right, they are out there and you just never know. You
Yeah.
know, estate sales are great. They are a great source for books. That's for sure.
See the pictures too, ahead of time.
Right, true.
So then my pro tip is, if you can tell what room, if you look at the picture of what you want to get at an estate sale, if you can kind of guess which room that is by what's around in the picture, that can be helpful to get there before other people.
Right,
Like if
that's
you can
true.
tell it's a bedroom, or if you can tell it's an office or the kitchen, in other words, because there was a time when there were some magazines I wanted and they just showed the box and I really just guessed wrong. And I didn't know. And I might have even asked somebody at the sale and they might not have known. So anyway, like kind of getting that so that if you are first in line or whatever and really want something, then you can just make a beeline for that.
Mhm. Yep. Good tip.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. And get there early.
Yeah, you can get there early, know their rules, like some of them near me, you can write your name down and then leave or take a number and leave so you don't have to stand out there when it's
Oh,
cold
wow. Okay.
winter. And others you might need to wait there in line. So it's just hard to know.
Right.
And yeah.
Um, how um how has reselling has your family gotten interested in it as well? I find that my husband, I want him to get more interested in it, but he's got his own things that he resells or likes to resell, but he kind of makes maps for me on Saturday mornings of where the garage sales are, so has your family been helpful, or have they gotten interested in their own way?
In some ways, I mean, my husband's supportive and he'll help with the heavy lifting. And he has started going to some sales with me and helping, but if he finds some things and I'm like, no, that's not any good, he gets discouraged. So it's not always that easy. And of course, with books, there's more are worth nothing than are worth something. So,
Mhm.
and my daughter really loves books and she helped me when she was in high school, was like a worker, but she just really never thought it was that interesting to sell books. I think things that some kids' moms do just not, I don't know, maybe it's just me. They didn't seem that interested, but they do like to come and shop sometimes. Like they'll come through in my office and say, oh, is that for sale? Like they want it they see things they want for themselves. So that's definitely happened. So they're interested in that, especially when I was selling a lot of different things. And I do sell some collectible stuff too, so once in a while, but so they definitely will look for that. And my daughter loves to thrift and buy used clothes at yard sales. So she does definitely like that. They all
Okay.
do, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. I mean, I'm sure your influence has affected them in one way or another, and maybe not in books, but maybe in some other areas. But
Oh,
what about the extra money that you've made from your reselling business? Would you say that that's contributed to different things in your family? Like, for instance, I hear about people that are as a couple maybe that are thrifting, and all their thrifting money goes for the down payment of their house, or to buy something substantial that they wouldn't have been able to do on their regular income.
yeah. When I first started and wasn't making as much, I still don't make a lot, I guess. But when I first started, it definitely did help out with some trips when we had extra expenses and we needed some more money. And then once I got into it more regularly, I started just putting a lot of it towards my retirement. And so that's been my retirement savings since I wasn't employed otherwise. And I took a break from working to be a stay-at-home mom. So that's just built up my retirement fund because my husband makes enough that we just live on his salary. And then it's either supplemented or we saving for that future time.
And that's huge. I mean, personally, my husband and I, my husband is in the logging business. He owns a logging operation, and that is so volatile, that business. It's up and down, and sometimes you take chances on buying pieces of equipment that will do a job, and everything. It's like the moon and the stars have to align in order to make money. I mean, you could make a lot of money in this business, or you can make nothing. And we've taken some chances where it hasn't worked out so well, but that's just what you do. So I know for us, And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like that. Maybe they had 401ks that they had to dip into because of family emergency. And as a result, they get to be retirement age and their 401k is depleted. So, I mean, reselling is something that, you can do, and it's easy, and it can be very good money, and you can work as much or as little as you want. And it can supplement your social security or, your 401k. I mean, I see more and more people who are retirement age that are doing that, you know, like I said, they've lost something, they've made some bad investments in the past or things that were beyond their control.
Right. Yep. It definitely is a good supplement, and it's yeah, relatively easy to make a decent amount that actually makes a difference in your family.
Yeah, it is, and keeping busy is really important too. And that's why I usually like to talk to people who are 55 and older, because what happens is people that are our age, there's things that have happened to us, or we're at a certain point that's like, okay, it just doesn't happen to people who are younger, so and you're at a crossroads, it's like, okay, what do I do? Do I just go down the reselling path and just call it good as far as retirement? Or, yeah, I mean, I know that happens to younger people too, but, even so, there's many more things to consider.
Mhm.
But, all in all, I mean, I just think it's a wonderful place to be in the reselling world, no matter what it is you sell. And I think there's just so much opportunity, and you can find niches that, nobody else has either discovered, or, there's very little people who are doing it, or
Yep.
nobody can do it like you.
Yes, we can draw on all our different uh, hobbies that we've had throughout our lives so far. So we've had more time to have all those different things, and those are the kind of things, once you know more about any kind of topic, then it's easier to go out and find those things to resell.
Yeah,
To
true.
know more about it. Yep.
Well,
And I do like.
I'm sorry, it's getting to be the end of our broadcast here. I'm getting an alert from Zoom that they're going to cut me off.
Oh no.
But thank you for being my guest. I really appreciate it. And if you like what you heard today, smash that like button, and please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us through messages on YouTube. And we'll put a link as to how you can get a hold of us if you'd like for more questions. So thanks again. And thank you, Deanna. And
This has been
we'll see you
fun,
next
and you're
time.
doing a great job with this.
Thank you.